Hey guys, this will be video 12 for the how to restore a 1981 Gibson E2 curly maple top CMT Explorer. And it's a pretty rare guitar. If you go to video 1, you'll see that this was the seventh guitar ever stamped for this particular design, which I've clarified in several videos where I never even knew this guitar existed. And but I do now, and I figured out how they actually built the thing and sprayed the thing and did all the burst work. So anyway, it's turned into a really beautiful guitar, and it's really cool because when Eric first introduced the concept to me, all he had was just this neck, the old vintage neck, pretty banged up, but nonetheless had a perfectly functional truss rod, and had the heel. I'll briefly cover it. It did not have a heel on it. Someone had machined off the heel and had kind of turned it into like a strat neck where you could put it into some sort of pocket. But Eric and I agreed. He wanted me to rebuild the neck and obviously build a body for it as well. So we spent a lot of time talking about the operations. But what's so cool, the very first guitar that Eric introduced to me is exactly what's on the table. He basically told me, it's like, yeah, I've got this neck. I'll go ahead and send it to you. And I had no idea of really what it was or the value. I didn't even research the serial number. It's set on one of my side tables for probably 3 months, 2.5 months before I even started researching it. But he told me on the very front end, yeah, I want to bring it back to life and build a guitar body around it. Excuse me. And it's a tobacco burst. And I remember thinking, tobacco burst? I've never seen a tobacco burst, especially an Explorer. So, or maybe I did and just forgot about it. But the guitar that he wanted on the very front end basically is exactly the guitar that we ended up with. Now, I keep forgetting to clarify. I had mentioned to Eric in video, I think 9 or 10, hey, no, after video 10, or at the end of video 10, hey, if anything, we can ease into the burst work and then we can make a determination as to where we go from there. But what happened, and I have not had a conversation with Eric since video 10, uh, and I just, what happened is I didn't know. And as I started doing the initial real faint burst work, I kept looking at it in relation to the actual 1981 tobacco burst guitar, and everything I was doing it did not look finished. It looked okay, but it's one of those things where, don't just, if you're going to do something like this, even I learned my lesson, just go ahead and take it back to the original design. However, the original design that's 50 years old, and the original design that's 50 years old is probably faded out a lot more. And then that's where you have to make the determination of, well, do we finish this guitar where it looks brand new and it's got the mirror reflection, or do we finish it where it looks like it's 50 years old and from a real nice matte finish? And I clarified in several videos, well, at a minimum, let's just go ahead and take it up as if we were going to build like a really beautiful jazz guitar where we're trying to really capture all this insane flame, as much as we can. So and I've already shown that image 1,000 times. I need to stop showing it. But so go ahead and take it to a beautiful finish. And then if you want it to look 50 years old, well, 15 minutes with a quad alt steel wool and she looks 50 years old. Or if you want to take it back to a beautiful jazz guitar, well, then you buff it with a bench, a bench buffer. And I don't have one of the really large buffing wheels because I've never built guitars like that. But with this one right here, the way I would prefer to take it is to exactly the state I've got it right now. Buff, wet sand it up to about 2,000 grit, and then hand wax it, and it'll be beautiful. It'll have just a real beautiful, warm, vintage glow. You'll see a mirror reflection, but then when you turn it into light, you won't see any piercing, shiny shininess at all. Eric might not want that, but I'm pretty certain that on the front end, we've already clarified that, because even he was like, I want to really be careful, but I don't want this neck to start looking brand new. And that's a tough order right there when you're trying to maintain a beat up and abused, banged up, and it's got a nasty ding right there, but then blend it into the new build, but then make the determination of, well, do we wear out the body so that it just blends in with a pretty banged up neck, or do we make a transition where it's all original and then it just fades into a little bit more beautiful guitar that hasn't been abused? And that's kind of the route I think Eric and I both agreed. Once we hit around the 12th fret to 16th fret location, let's go ahead and let it be a pretty guitar, but not look like it's brand new. And I didn't even do any pore filler in the wood. I hate pore filler. I'd rather just do an additional 10 coats processes of nitrocellulose lacquer, which is very thin, to build it up. And then once you do your buff work, then you've got a guitar that truly looks like it shrank over time, and you can see a little bit of the faint grain or the pore. You can see the pores. You might not be able to see that, but you can see the pores in the wood, and also it's not loaded full of artificial material like the pore filler. And I don't think there's anything more unattractive than like the whatever year it was, the Les Paul, where they did it, the cherry pore filler, and then that crap faded out. Man, that's one of the ugliest guitars in the world, and they're supposed to be incredibly valuable, but man, they're so ugly. But getting back on point, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, I just knew that I wanted to do another quick video and kind of finalize the burst work. But I got to tell you, what's really incredible, I'm looking at the guitar on camera, and it's really beautiful even on camera right now, but not nearly as beautiful as it is sitting here on the table. So, and I think the only reason it is because this morning I shot one more real very fine perimeter shot. When I say perimeter, I only let the spray mist kind of catch from about a half inch out to make certain that I just smoked out the perimeter just a little bit more with the actual dark, like more of a darker walnut than the tobacco. And then once you go up into the burst, that's more of the tobacco right here. But then up in here, once it kind of fades out, there's also some brown mahogany blended in there in the honey, so that it has a little bit of like the faded cherry, which is prevalent on some of the guitars that I saw, where you could see that there definitely was some cherry in there. So it went from lemon to honey up to just a faint, I'm going to call it a little bit of cherry, but not cherry red, like what I was just talking about, the pore filler that's so ugly. But very quickly, this design goes from the honey, amber, lemon, center, whatever you want to call it, into a tobacco. It bursts fairly quickly into a dark guitar. And probably a lot of that is based on the fact that, it's not like your big body jazz guitar where it's an enormous body where you've got plenty of room to burst in, a good 2.5 to 3 inches, but not on this design. If you burst in more than uh, what is present now, it ended up looking like a bow tie. The lemon would only be 3 inches wide in the middle. In other words, you'd lose the scale. That's what I should be saying. Whoever did this design from the Gibson shop, they knew the importance of scale and how this thing is so small and tight in certain areas. It's like, well, we can't burst it all the way out to a point, then it would look funny, And I took a little bit of liberty right here where I let a little bit more of the honey amber show. Actually, a lot more. I let a lot more show right in this area of the original lemon honey color than they did. They had a tendency to they got a little bit more round right here, and from here out, it was pretty dark. And and I may be giving them the benefit of the doubt. I actually think they came down about another inch and a half and got a little bit round right here, which to me, if you did that, and I'm throwing Gibson under the bus, well, you just lost the guitar. You just lost the design of this beautiful wing here when you lost that little bit of honey right there. And I did not do that on this guitar. I'll let it fog out a little bit down here, only because I knew we were going to be going with the pick guard. But even if he elected to not go with the pick guard, I definitely didn't want this to be pointed down here. See, this is not a sharp point up here. It's a pretty massive area. So with that said, after I shot that actually before I shot that dark walnut perimeter 2 nights ago, after I achieved the deep honey that I wanted, I shot 2 wet coats, meaning, and if you guys know what I'm talking about, if you're spraying lacquer, you're not doing mist coats, 2 wet coats. The first coat sprayed, dried very quickly, but then within an hour and a half, I shot a second wet coat. And then what's so beautiful is when you shoot it wet, that's when everything levels really well. Now, the first coat was a bit of a mist and a sealer, and this will get you in so much trouble when you're doing variable colors like this. If you had this guitar right here where you just had the tobacco burst against the honey amber, and then you transition into the lemon, and then you came in with a ridiculously thick coat trying to like finish the guitar in one coat, what the nitrocellulose lacquer will do, it will literally melt every bit of this work, and then all these colors they'll start running. I mean, if you sprayed it real wet and real thick, gravity's going to take control and you will lose the whole guitar. So after you have your color, it's so critical to just come in with some mist coats, but that are wet enough to actually seal it. Now, if I was really wanting to bring this thing up to a super slick finish, I could probably do 2 more, if not 3 more super, just wet coats. And if you guys are used to spraying lacquer, you know what I'm talking about. Then you're going to get a little bit more like jazz standards finish. So let me check the time. 12 minutes. All right, I'm getting a little bit too long-winded again. And I struggle with doing these videos. I end up talking too much, and now I don't even know if anything that I've covered is of much value. So with that said, the main reason I wanted to do this video is just to present to the client the actual guitar and what it's looking like. I did darken up a little bit right here, but not nearly as much as in the pictures. As I just clarified, I didn't darken too much up in here because I didn't want to lose that guitar, because I love the burst work that I have achieved right there. And it's a rare one, very rare one. So the next thing that's about to take place is, since I've shot that tobacco perimeter, or the walnut perimeter, about a 1/4 inch, now I'm going to spray 1 more mist coat and seal that. And then about an hour from now, then I will be able to do some real gentle buff work, and then actually start assembling the guitar this afternoon, but with real gentle hands. I won't be doing any major drill work or anything. Well, no, I'll take that back. I probably will go ahead and, I will. I'll go ahead and be installing the Shaler Tunematic, or whatever. I think it's called the Nashville. Where are they? I'll go ahead and be installing these right here. They require that you drill a hole for your small anchors, rather than your traditional studs. Great design. So I'll be installing these, but I will only be drilling these once I set up the guitar one more time with the traditional studs. This is pretty important from a design standpoint. Uh, I'm fairly confident that this is the guitar. Well, actually, I'm 100% confident because I've already strung it up with just the outer two strings. And then I did play it about a month or so back with all six, but only roughly. But with these 2 points right here, um, once your bridge goes on here, you can just verify that you're true and that it'll be adjustable with these, but then also you're verifying that the low E and the high E saddles are pretty much spot on as far as the trapezoidal path PATH of the low E and the high E string. And in the event if I strung this thing up and I realized um, I wanted my high E string to move up just a little bit, which would move the whole trapezoidal path. Well, once I went to my drill press, and when I'm talking about moving it, I'm talking a 64th of an inch. I'm not talking, I'm not even talking a 32nd of an inch. I've already verified that. My trapezoidal path right now is spot on, but I'm creating a hypothetical here. If you missed it with your studs, well, you can make up for it once you drill for those locations right there by moving in the direction that you need to move. And I'm not going to start talking hypothetical about if you really screwed up and missed it really bad. You'll just have to make the determination as to how you recover from that. If you were already at this point right here, just put that bridge wherever you need that bridge to go in order for the guitar to play right. And don't worry about whether you miss the center line a 32nd of an inch or something like that. It's better to get the guitar feeling and playing incredible. And there you have it. So that's the reason I haven't drilled those yet, is because I wanted to build the whole guitar. And then if I wanted to tweak this ever so slightly, or if maybe I had these two studs just a little bit snug and they were binding a little bit, well, I want to find out, where is it binding? Is it binding on the outside edge here, or on the inside edge here, or on the inside edge here, or on the outside edge here? And then where are those strings going in relation to the trapezoidal path? Then I'll make the determination out of those 4 points right there where I want to either open this up a little bit or close it up a little bit, or open it up or close it up a little bit. So you see my reasoning there. It's not that we're building shoddy guitars. It's just that when you're working with so many dimensions right there, just make certain that you leave yourself a little bit of leadway to encourage it to function better. That's a tactful way of saying that, correcting slight mistakes or just, human error. And it's not like, I don't even have to explain that. That's not a shoddy guitar. That's just making certain that you really walked your way to the finish line very cautiously. And it also reiterates the fact that, as I clarified in video 1 or video 2, this is the hardest damn guitar you'll ever build, period. This is the most unforgiving, absolutely brutal design you will ever build. And it's far more difficult than a flying V. And everything about it is, if you miss one thing, it just starts compounding on an extreme level. And I swear I'm not being melodramatic. It is such a difficult guitar to build. And that's probably a lot of the reason why, well, not for Gibson, because everything they're doing, I've seen some of the custom shop, that's all CNC work. They might be doing really cool vintage finishes and stuff, but for the most part, they're not. I don't think they're building guitars by hand anymore. I may be completely wrong, so I apologize if I spoke out of place there. But I got a strong feeling that those $10,000 custom shop guitars they're spitting out, they're just CNC guitars that have vintage appointments and vintage looking hardware and stuff like that. And quite frankly, they probably play 10 times better than an old 1950s or 60s guitar. And I'm gonna keep preaching a little bit. Why does an old 1959 pick your poison Gretsch, Rickenbacker, which I don't like Rickenbackers, Fender, Gibson, Gretsch, blah, blah, blah. Why do they play so well? Because those guitars have gone through so many pro tech shops out there, these small town luthiers that are guys like me. They're so intimately focused about adjusting out all the imperfections. That's why some of those guitars are so incredible, is because they've passed through the hands of guys who know how to repair or move bridges. As I've heard like Joe Glazer talk about, moving bridges on guitars that are extremely valuable where it was incorrect from the factory back in the 60s or 50s or 70s, or pick your year. So anyway, that's really a lot of the reason why a guitar either plays so incredible or functions so well, is because someone fought that SOB all the way to the finish line and made certain that, you know, from day one, let's see if I can tip it over a little bit. From day one, that we had that pitch within a 32nd of an inch of, correct in relation to that pick guard. And I'm not bragging. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that to clarify. The Explorer is an extremely difficult guitar to build, even with the templates. It's amazing, even with the templates. And I've got one laying over there on the table. Yeah, and the reason I've got that one laying over there on the table is so I can show it, to talk a little bit more about these potentiometer shafts and stuff like that. And Ed, if you're watching this video as well, this will relate to you asking me how I felt about doing the little pointer washers on the top. Believe it or not, I need to know whether you want to do those pointer washers on the top or not, because it will literally affect the thickness by which I machine your body on your guitar. And that's why I want to talk about this whole three quarter inch tall shaft versus the 3/8 inch tall shaft again, atop the I'll just put it on its side, atop the double pole double throw circuit board on the CTS pot. So let me pause and get that. Well, let me just grab a guitar. And if it sounds like I'm complaining, I'm not complaining. It's just that I'm just talking about the reality of building a guitar that's just so unforgiving. So with that, let's just push this to the side, and I'll just try to make this as short a video as possible. But also, man, it's so beautiful, and if it's cool, if it looks great on camera with this halogen light, then I think he'll be really happy once he pulls it out of the case. Because this light right here, when I first started doing these videos, I was just using your traditional like soft white or whatever the bulb is. And man, I mean, everything looked deep vintage. Everything was just ambered out. There's this real warm yellowish glow, and I had to fight that until I went over to the gold. I mean, to the halogen, to get rid of all that artificial gold. Okay, where's my? Oh, right here on the table. Okay, so you got a guitar that is, I'm going to call it 1 9/16 of an inch thick. That's your traditional. That is your traditional Explorer. Okay, so if you, which is a really thin body, but the way I've got this designed, let me just kind of explain to you my reasoning. I like having this nut on here. Well, I just no. Okay, Ed, I'll try to talk about your guitar a little bit as well, but just try to read between the lines a little bit. I don't like the idea of installing a potentiometer, whether it is short or long, without a nut on the bottom. And my theory is, we'll just go ahead and engineer the guitar if you're building them with the nut bottomed out, and then the locking washer. And see, that's the long shaft guitar. That's the long shaft potentiometer. Okay. Now go to the face washer. and this applies to your guitar ed, even though it's the four control layout. And all you have to do is just give it a very gentle. Now that's not tight enough for a finished guitar, but the way I lay out my 3 controls for the Explorer, I point this potentiometer in, which gives room for the capacitor to kind of fold forward in that direction. And then I put this potentiometer facing in that direction. And see, that's the short, but it doesn't. And that one doesn't have the. That one doesn't have the nut or the locking washer on the back. So I point this one in this direction, and then, which is the bridge volume. And then once I get to the neck volume, I point that one in that direction, and it makes for a beautiful, very uncluttered control cavity. And then obviously your jack wire comes in somewhere in that location right there, and your ground wire is up here. The reason I'm bringing this up and spending a little bit of time with this is because it's time to start doing the wiring on this guitar. And as I clarified, oh, I forgot I put that note on there. As I clarified in video, what was this, 12? In video 11, I've got to make a determination of how that wiring harness is actually really done, because I don't know. I still don't know, because I'm not working with just traditional potentiometers. I'm working with a CTS push-pull for that design, and unfortunately, once you go with the CTS push-pull, which looks identical to that on the top, excuse me, but then it has like a circuit board down here. That circuit board, basically, I clarified, what is the maximum, what is the what is the minimum depth of your control cavity. And I got off point there. So let me just tighten that up, and let's just hold that to the side. So that's the minimum depth on this one, because I build my guitars with 7/16 of an inch tops, whether it's Ed's Explorer, the 4, I want that top to be 7/16 of an inch thick, unless I'm forced to use something different that requires that I change that, because I've seen too many pictures of SGs, and not necessarily Explorers, but especially the SG, where they just had horrific tear out right there, where a potentiometer took some sort of blow and it just blew out the whole top. But that will not happen with my guitars, nor would it happen with this guitar, unless we're forced to go with push-pull in 2 locations or something. I'm going to have to machine it thinner in those locations, because all the information I found online, I'm not trying to change gears on you, Eric. We're definitely going to do this wiring configuration, even if I do have to machine this entire top down to roughly 1/4 of an inch thick. But if we can get around that in 2 of the locations versus just 1, or just 1 of the locations versus 2, then all the better. So with that said, the magic number is there it is. Basically, it said it's like 22 millimeter. Your control cavity needs to be a minimum of 22 millimeter. And I think, no, I'm sorry, 25 and a half millimeter. So I say that to say this. My control cavity right now, this one's 27. I'm getting lost in my numbers here. This one's, I may be wrong. So far, this one's specking out 27. I think I machined this one too. If I don't figure this out fairly quickly, I'm going to get... Yes, something's different with that control cavity. And I can't remember what it might have been the reasoning. I did the math the other night, and basically a CTS potentiometer that is push-pull is too tall for my control cavity in Eric's guitar. Yeah, that's what it is. This one's 24 millimeter, and I need like 25 and a half millimeter minimum. And that's, oh, and see, I even took, that's probably some of the mistakes I made. That's to the back edge of the plastic control cover. So I know online it says you need, yeah, here's the math. So apologies, guys. When I went online, the CTS push-pull with the circuit board connector on it requires over 25 millimeter clearance. That's average. This control cavity right here is 23 millimeter. But I have a perfectly finished top that is 7/16 of an inch thick, which will receive. These might have these probably no. These will have lacquer all over them. I haven't run a drill through that yet, so that this would be easy access. Yeah, they won't go through, and I don't want to risk damaging the lacquer. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to change gears over to a 3/8 inch shaft potentiometer that is the push-pull, because they offer both of them. You could either get it in the 3/4 inch shaft push-pull or the 3/8 inch shaft push-pull. And because of that effing 2 millimeter, I'm going to have to go to the 3/8 inch shaft push-pull. And I may, just to make certain that we don't have to machine this top down to 3/16 of an inch thick, I may, here's a part of me, man, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they have 2 little locking tabs on them. I may leave the bottom nut. I'll say may. I could just about guarantee if they have locking tabs on them, I'm going to be leaving that adjustable nut off and that locking washer so that I can leave my top as thick as possible. Otherwise, you can see what's going to happen right here. I'm going to have to machine that top so effing thin that it is now defeating my original design of making a really strong guitar that guarantees that it won't ever damage and stuff like that. And that's now, however, that's not me being difficult at all, because the pickups that we're working with and the very original design from day one, the client was requesting that we do the push-pull, that I do the push-pull configuration. So it's not like he surprised me with anything here at the end of the job. So I want to make certain that I don't sound like I'm frustrated. I'm not at all. I'm just looking at it going, oh, shit. Well, there's a part of it's like, oh, man, I'm going to have to cut that top down a little bit. But if it's only in the tone location, the guitar's not going to fall apart. So that's kind of me being really, really critical about certain things that I wish I could leave that wood in there, but there's no other design in the push-pull that will allow that to take place. So anyway, I know that could have been explained probably within about 1 minute, but I wanted to clarify some of that stuff. And it's funny, I did not measure that body right there before I measured this one. There may be some variations in this one, but I'm almost 100% certain that I know these are the same thickness. For some reason, I probably just got lost in my math and or my measurements. So anyway, I like the I like the really thick top if we can keep them in. And I'll stay on this because the reason I wanted to bring this up is I've already covered it in video 11 where I talked about, hey, let me know how it is that this wiring harness actually comes together, because I'm at a loss for words on it, because I can't figure out how these two pickups are going to function. And I need to clarify, did I hear you correctly, Eric, that there's going to be a push-pull in the tone location, tone potentiometer, and then just traditional uh, 3/4 inch long shaft. In other words, traditional potentiometer in the neck volume, traditional potentiometer in the bridge volume, and then the push-pull in the tone. If that's the case, then all I'm going to do is be flipping this guitar over and taking a Forstner bit that's sufficient to receive that housing and drilling that thinner from the backside so that it falls into that one little circular pocket. That's a walk in the park. That's no different than drilling out a massive 1-inch hole in the whole side of the body right here, and it only being 3/16 of an inch thick around the jack socket location. So, but if you've got that thin area right there and that thin area right there, that's where if you drop a guitar, that's where the whole bottom will blow off, and be a catastrophic break because you just weakened it so much. Okay. We're not designing them to be dropped, but if I can leave mass material in, then I'm definitely going to leave it in. So, but if this guitar is going to be built with a push-pull volume for the neck and a push-pull volume for the bridge, and then just a traditional tone, then I'll be putting your traditional long shaft potentiometer there, leaving that little area thick, and then machining out a little hot dog bun socket right there that is, thinner to receive that. And I still have not sent John a message, the guy I buy my potentiometers from, to ask him, hey man, I hate to ask this of you, but can you help me engineer this where truly give me a dimension like with a nut bottomed out here, and what the hell is that washer? Did I push it over to the side? Oh, I'll put it on here. So I'll be getting John to send me, if this is the CTS potentiometer, please give me a, oh, hell, I put the wrong, no, that is the locking. That is the locking. I'm going to get him to send me that dimension right there. And if it is such that, if it is such that it is literally like 1 millimeter from the back of that cover, then I'm going to go and on the long shaft, and it allows me to do the long shaft, then that's what I'm going to go with, and that way I won't have to machine my top down. Okay, but if I'm pushing 2 or 3 millimeter, or where I'm like having to come up in here and route out some of this plastic, I'm not going to do anything silly like that. I'll go with the shorter shaft CTS push-pull and build a traditional guitar and stop sounding like I'm whining about anything, because I hope that really doesn't come off as me complaining, because I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out how to make certain I don't just jump the gun and destroy the custom guitar that we've built here when it wasn't even necessary, because if I had have just gone ahead. And speaking of that, if John gives me a certain dimension and it's right at the threshold, then I'll order 2 1/3 and 1/3, and then I'll actually put it in and see if I can actually get the face nut and all that jazz on the top and that knob down so that knob still floats. It's usually about 3/32 of an inch that I float them off the top. Let's let me see the time. 39 minutes, man. It feels like it's an hour and a half, because I think this is the 4th time I've done this video. And there's a part of me is like, I feel like I need to rush and hurry up because I feel like the video is getting too long. But it's only because I can't do the thing the first time. Okay, if you're gonna do this on camera and not screw up the guitar, put the drill bit in reverse. Okay, flip it to forward. Stepped bit allows you to go forward or backwards. Cut the lacquer. Turn it to the back. Turn it to the left. Turn it to the right a little bit. Okay. Nut is bottomed out. Locking washer. Oh, look at that. Wow, this is awesome. I got to tell you, this is, there's the problem. And it's not a problem. What an incredible mistake. What that means is when I was building this body, I forgot that I went ahead and left it super thick, and so that I would machine it out later on once. That's exactly what's going on here. That's why these two just mic'd out differently. So thank God for that mistake. That means that I always knew, okay, probably what's going to happen is going to be a stepped route back here according to what we go with. So I just discovered in real time that this top is probably like 5/8 of an inch thick. No, it's probably more than that. So it could still receive quite a bit material machined out, and it may very well be. Let me do some quick math here. And that's where I was talking about, always talking about like work your way to the finish line, work your way to the finish line. When you're building the guitar on the front end, it's much better to discover that you left enough material in there so that you could eventually machine it out. And that's why this one, is machined out. Seeing if you wanted to, even you could even fold your, that'd be close. I never do that. You could fold it back if you wanted to. But let's see. I think I've already done this. Yeah, I did. I may have forgotten to put the cap on it, though. I mean, the knob. So bear with me, guys. It's just been a long video series the last couple of nights of getting this thing. And the trick is, when you're engineering your guitar, just make certain that that you just barely see the thread, the first row of thread, and then if you do that, okay, you will have a beautiful height. But Ed, not for your guitar if you want the pointers. See, that wouldn't. I may be wrong about that. That pointer, I hate those things. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I hate them because you asked my opinion. I hate them. I don't want to put them on your guitar. If you force me to, I'll put them on there, but I may file them off around. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. But if you wanted I think they call them the fingertip bleeders. I guess what would happen is you would not install. I guess the way you would do it is you would not install that bottom washer right there, that face washer, and that would become the the height washer. So anyway, I'll work with you on that, Ed. But nonetheless, you can see my reasoning behind. I wanted to get all these dimensions engineered on the front end so that in the future, once I'm getting ready to build a guitar, I always machine a certain depth, whatever that depth may be. And let's hope and pray that this is. Let me turn it over. What the online information said it needed to be slightly over 1 inch deep for the control cavity. I mean, to receive the CTS. So if I measure from the back side there to that back side right there, and that should be about 25 millimeter. See, it's right at the threshold. That is 25 millimeter from the back side there to the ledge. But with that information right there, if once I contact John, he may say, "Oh no, it's like 23." You know, they're just giving you a 2 millimeter clearance or something like that. So, but if John calls me back and says, "No, it's probably going to be exactly 25 and a half or something like that." Well, if it's 25 and a half going in this guitar, then it's going to push the plastic cover up a half a millimeter. Okay, and the thing is, I could recess into the body a little bit more and bring this potentiometer a little bit further up, and wouldn't be the end of the world, because then it would only be raising, it would be raising that knob up just a little bit more. But and obviously I could file off the top of that. So I'm kind of, if you can hear it in my voice, I'm kind of engineering through this. So if I'm right at the threshold, I'm leaving my body thick. But if I'm like really, if I'm going to need to cut off, how much would I be willing to cut off? No, I couldn't. I don't want to shave off too much of the top of a potentiometer. Maybe a millimeter, something like that. But we'll get there. So what does it take to build a guitar? This kind of crap right here. And I'm not saying that complaining. It's just that you got to leave that material in there so that you can then make those decisions at the end, rather than just panic on the front end and just go ahead and machine that thing out a 1/4 inch thick. So let's see exactly how top this, and then realize that, oh man, you could have left all that incredible material in there. So let's see how thick this top is right now. When I talk about this top, I'm talking about the top thickness in there. And if you're still here, then you're, for whatever reason, you're still here. Maybe you're building a guitar. This pen is kind of dying out on me. And let me put this at 7/16 of an inch, which is my engineered top. Wow. Boy, I was really overly cautious. Try to get the table clean so I don't risk, screwing up the back real bad. Well, that light is not my friend. I'm sorry, guys. I think you can see it right there. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, that's where the top is right now. And what is that dimension? It's over 3/16 of an inch. I could take it all the way down to that right there. So I could machine out a whole lot more material right there. So it looks like all this dramatic information that I've provided is probably going to work itself out, but I'm not there yet. So with that said, I still need you to help me understand this wiring harness, Eric, and I know you're aware of that by now because I will have sent you a text message and let you know that I'm still kind of in the dark as to what it is we're doing. And please understand, the last thing I'm saying is, hey, it's time to change gears and go with something different. It's not what I'm saying. If we have to do 3 push-pull knobs in here and machine this down and only go with because it requires the 3/8 inch shaft, it's no big deal. I mean, unless it gets dropped or something. But nonetheless, I'll do that if we need to, because we're definitely going with these pickups and we're definitely going to take advantage of their intended design, which that's what I clarified in video 11. I'm not 100% confident that these double lead humbuckers, when you have 2 of them, are intended to, let's say that's the bridge, so one wire is going to that. Let's just go ahead and let's keep talking about this, only because there may be somebody else out there fighting this design. I have no idea which one of these might be the neck and which ones might be the bridge. So that's what I meant by, we've got these 2 wires left over right here, and were they actually designed to go to 2 different potentiometers in their function, whether they're push pull and tone, or is it okay that they actually go to a single push pull potentiometer? Okay, and that's my struggle, and it's not because I don't know how to do wiring. It's just I've never seen this before, and I'm struggling because I can't find anyone that shows you how to install them, especially into just one potentiometer. Okay, but I say that to say this. Now, Eric was really confident about it. He was like, "Oh no, all you do is just go to the tone potentiometer, which is a push pull, and then voila, you can then engage your split coil." But that's when it prompts me to think, well, then we've got 4 pickups here. So if that's the case, it sounds like if you're running the neck volume and the bridge volume on 10, and these would be in traditional series, and then you engage the split of both of them by 1 potentiometer. Well, now you've just kicked in the split, which is really bizarre. I mean, it may be a brilliant design that should still be in use, but it would almost seem like you've got 2 additional pickups in here that now you're kicking on, but you're still running these in series where you can toggle between, neck and bridge up here. I don't want to lay that up there because I might scratch it. So you're able to toggle the 2 series pickups, whether neck, both, or bridge. But then if you're engaged in this one knob right here, that toggle does not affect the 2 split unless these spare wires went to the switch, the 3-way switch. In other words, these 2 wires just went together. No, then you're kicking everything on at once. So you see my dilemma, guys, and Eric. It's probably so simple that I'm overthinking it, but the last thing I want to do is make an assumption and then get in there and start effing with these pickups that are, as Simon over in the UK said, the last time I saw those, they were about $1,000 a pair. I don't want to screw them up. So anyway, very complex guitar and very much the opportunity to be melodramatic about the build. But 55 minutes of me showing I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I'm going to stop talking, as I say, and joking, obviously joking there. Looking at the table, I don't think there's any reason to do any mock-up because we did that enough in video 11. But just bear with me there, Eric. And if you see that I'm just overthinking it, just let me know. But I hope I am. I'm hoping it's as simple as doing your traditional wiring in those two configurations, your traditional wiring in the three-way, and then all that we're doing is just installing a push-pull in the tone. And then for some miraculous reason, all you do is connect those at that, whether it's on. Uh, this is so important. I do know that, it may be that one wire goes to one side of that terminal, and the neck may go here and the bridge may go here, and then these are just the common in the middle, and then it just, once it engages, then it just works. But otherwise, I just want to try to figure it out. But as I clarified in video 11, I don't want to have to order $100 worth of potentiometers in various links only to figure out, hell, I only needed one, and it had to be 3/8 of an inch, and now I've got these potentiometers on my table that I'll never use. Okay, so let me know what you discover, Eric, and if you're not aware, then let's back up and punt and keep searching until we figure it out, and we'll go from there. So I appreciate you guys being so patient as I struggled through this video, but I'm just so happy with it because it's so beautiful and ready to get some strings on it fairly soon, and hopefully get it shipped to Eric so he can plug it in and change the world. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.